Greetings, y'all folks. So, today we're talking about Hermana Muerte, or Sister Death, a Spanish horror movie from 2023. It takes place slightly after the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, where the fascists are now in power. The main character is a nun named Narcisa, who, as a young girl, had these holy visions. And she arrives at a convent that is being renovated after the Civil War, during which a lot of nuns were killed and raped, and the convent was pillaged during the Civil War. Narcissa becomes a teacher at this convent and starts to hear from the kids about creepy things happening, and girls start disappearing, and others say that they've seen a ghost girl of some sort. And during a class about an upcoming solar eclipse, the name of one of the girls appears on the blackboard. And shortly after that, the girl disappears. Narcissa runs to find her, and she ends up in the confession booth. And this is the part where the supernatural stuff really starts happening, as she hears the voice of ostensibly a priest, but possibly a demon or demonic presence of some sort, speaking back to her from the black darkness on the other side of the confession screen. And then all of a sudden, eyes start popping up all throughout it, and hands come from behind her out of the wall and out of the woodwork to kind of like pull at her face and pull her back and kind of like hold her in place. And she managed to pull herself free and break out from the confession booth. And as she turns back, she sees the girl who had just disappeared hanging in the confession booth. Others start blaming her for this, and maybe your holy visions were actually demonic visions, and you're actually evil, and you're like a witch or some sort, and you should never have come here, it's all your fault. And then when the eclipse happens, Narcissa, possibly feeling that all that guilt, Catholic guilt, classic, she stares straight into the sun and has visions about what happened during the Civil War at this convent. And she sees that the girl haunting the convent is the daughter of one of the nuns who was raped during the Civil War there. And the girl grew up in the convent and was hidden away from the world because the nuns thought, okay, this is such a scandal, a nun can't have a child, obviously. And at some point, the girl fell ill. They wouldn't take her to a hospital because of the scandal, and the girl died. And the mother ended up killing herself out of grief. Narcissa ends up freeing the mother's spirit, and she reunites with her daughter after killing the old nuns who were responsible for her daughter's death. And I don't know, this part of the movie I thought was okay. It's certainly it was quite a sight to see the spirit get loose and like take revenge on these nuns and how the deaths happen. But the build up and like the supernatural stuff that happens before that is so much creepier and so well executed that I actually like the build up much more than the payoff in this particular movie. Right at the very end, you get a flash forward where it is suddenly 1991 and Narcissa as a new class. She's an old nun at this point, blind because of... She's an old nun at this point, of course, but blind because of the eclipse. And the kids start calling her Sister Death because of her appearance. And one of the kids is Veronica, the main character of a movie by the same name, which came out a few years earlier. So Sister Death is actually a prequel about a character that was presumably a minor character in this other movie. So it is kind of like a little horror franchise, and I don't know, I might watch Veronica at some point later this month and see what's up with that. Interesting to see some small horror franchises from these other countries. This movie does creepy shit really well, and of course the religious iconography is very present here, and that is something that I always find kind of like interesting to see. Last year, or no, the year before, was also where we got Netflix's show by Mike Flanagan, Midnight Mass, which also has this very strong Catholic theme and tied into horror, and that is kind of like a more common thing with some other horror films. And that religious angle is one that I always find very interesting. I'm not very religious myself, but seeing how faith gets tested and how the supernatural is seen by the characters and what parts of it actually turn out to be true or relevant to the story, that always ends up kind of interesting to me. And I was just kind of enamored with the effect of the hands coming out of the wall to just kind of like pull at her face and like pull her back. That was very well done, yeah. So I would say I would recommend this movie. Enjoy if you go watch it. Cheers.